Hello to whoever's watching. I think I'm going to put this on Patreon, probably, or maybe not. I'm going to do a little bit of songwriting, and I thought I'd, make a little brief series of clips just to sort of outline my process, give a little bit of insight and behind the scenes content. So I run a songwriting workshop, a two-part thing where I give delivery, and then a couple of weeks later we reconvene and we do a recital. I've given them the prompt of wind. I'm challenging a 2-week period to write a song using the prompt of wind, however they may choose to interpret that or use it. So I feel like I'm getting a bunch of people to do it. I feel like I need to lead by example and also write a song by tomorrow. So I've got about a day to write a song. And since I got diagnosed with sleep apnea in January, I wanted to write a song called Sad Elephant. I made a Facebook post when I admitted that I was diagnosed with it and I first had my CPAP machine. And I described myself in that post as looking like some sort of sad elephant just because of the sort of, it looked like a little trunk that breathes air into my nose. And I wanted to write a song called Sad Elephant about sleep apnea and about how the various feelings that come with it, how like I've been tired all the time. I feel like different and I feel annoyed that I've got this extra difficulty, this extra illness condition that disadvantages me. And I wanted to kind of write a song about that, and I'm going to try and do so here. So for absolutely weeks, I've had the line in my head of da 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 da, just a sad elephant off to sleep. I've had that line for ages, just a sad elephant off to sleep. I think that's going to be a chorus, and I'm trying to build the chorus around it now. So I know that just from my sense of pitch, that song's in the key of D major, at least that melody is. The rough sort of chords that would fit the melody I was singing, it's G, la, do, 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 D, do, do, B minor, do, do, sad elephant, off to sleep. I've been sort of messing around. I think the line I've got now is the wings attach upon my feet, just a sad elephant off to sleep. So that line, the wings attach upon my feet, I'm thinking sort of like, as you're drifting off to sleep, sort of like the weightlessness. So I'm thinking sort of like, I guess, Cupid, or the angelic vibe of, wings attached to feet and you go and fly, you're knocked off your feet, that sort of thing. The next line I came up with after that was, the cold wind blows as the feathers beat, just a sad elephant off to sleep. I looked up synonyms for wings and for flap, and I found for flap, I used the word beat. Oh, nice, that rhymes. And instead of saying wings flap, feathers beat sounds a little bit more elegant, I guess. Got my dog just casually scratching off camera. Fantastic. My next step now is to sort of make a verse happen. So I'm just noodling chords around the key of D major. I don't want it to be too similar to that of the chorus because I don't want it to feel too samey, but also I don't want it to be too different either because I want them to still be linked and coherent with each other. So that's what I'm working on now, and I guess I will check back with you when I've got another idea. One of the songwriting influences that I've got for this song, or one of the people I want to sort of emulate or kind of capture the vibe of, is Dodie. So she does a lot of sort of fingerpick stuff, a lot of sort of interesting chord shapes. So the idea that I've got for the verse chord progression, something like this. Sort of like a pseudo 1-4-5 type progression. So I'm thinking of, doing something like this and then humming the melody over it, and I'll go from there. And then I can go into the chorus from there. So yeah, it's an idea, and I'm just going to kind of start putting words in and seeing where it kind of goes. Again, I just want to sort of go into that sort of direction of being tired all the time, I guess. First line I'm thinking for the verse is, the sunlight climbs out of its cozy bed, I was thinking of toasty, but I think cozy sounds a bit more homely. And then the next thing I want to mention is something like my eyelids are, because instead of climbing out the way that the sun climbs out of its bed, I'm thinking my eyelids are struggling to wake up because they're tired in the morning. Then they're climbing up like a cliff, or they're climbing up a really steep hill. I like steep, but I'm worried because that rhymes with the other things in the chorus. So I'm trying to think of other ways of trying to paint that picture of what other steep things are hard to climb, like a cliff, like going up rocks, going up a wall, things like that. Second line. So continuing on from the sunlight rises from its cozy bed. We go, my eyelids scale a thing an ocean wide. My eyelids scale a cliff an ocean wide. Ocean wide doesn't make as much sense, but it rhymes nicely with, you can go la da 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 da. With every waking moment feel so tired, because that is how I felt before getting CPAP therapy. I was just tired all the time, and there's that nice juxtaposition, that nice contrast of with every waking moment and feeling so tired. They juxtapose nicely. So I just now need to fill in that third line, the la do 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 do. With every waking moment feels so tired. So I need to just fill that third line. We'll see how we go. I've got the last part of that first verse down now. It's something like, I spend my working hours craving rest. Relatable. And then that last line of, with every moment feels so tired. So I'm not sure where to go next. I've got that. I've got the chorus idea. I don't think I want to go straight into the chorus yet. So I'm thinking maybe like I could put a pre-chorus in there to do something, to add something different. I'm thinking I could sort of double the length of this verse, elongate it. I've already established this first bit, what the problem is, like that I'm tired all the time. So maybe I could develop that a little further, like maybe look at sort of going to the hospital and getting the diagnosis and getting the tests. Maybe I could look at how I came to suspect that I had it anyway. So the story of that was I was in bed with someone and they noticed I'd stopped breathing, and they woke me up a few times during that night because I'd stopped breathing. So I googled those symptoms and saw that it was obstructive sleep apnea. So I called a GP about that, and that's how things kind of went from there. I could possibly go down that direction, talking about, being breathless in one's sleep, being woken up, being taken from death's door. I'm just sort of riffing here. I'm just trying to figure out where to go from there. It's either that or maybe make a pre-chorus to develop something different, but I like the idea of doing a double length first verse. The second half of this first verse goes something like this. A lover's voice disturbs me in the night. As I drift off, she took my breath away. The tunnel's end brings with it the light to see me through the warming glow of day. So the lover's voice, she wakes me up. I wanted in the second line to be a wordplay, something to do with she wasn't the only one who took my breath away, that sort of, that cliche line, but also falling asleep and being breathless when asleep because of the apnea. I wanted to do that. Then the second couplet, that's just saying there's light at the end of the tunnel, just an artistic way of saying that and trying to highlight things are getting better. So my first half of that was saying I was tired all the time. This one's explained how I started noticing developments, and then the chorus is looking at where I am now, which is with the machine and going to sleep and stuff. So now is this part I typically find hardest when songwriting, the second verse, just because it's about developing what you had, and sometimes I feel like I can say everything I want to say in the first verse and chorus. For this one, the way I want to develop the story is I want to look at the depressed feelings that come with it. So not the tired all the time, but now that I'm with the CPAP, there are feelings of like an adjustment. So I'm 24 and I have to wear that thing now every night forever. And that's a tough pill to swallow, especially was in the first month, and you feel like there's something wrong with you. You feel like you're different, and this is another problem, another condition, another burden in which you put others on. You have various anxieties thereof. What if I need to go somewhere spontaneously? I've got to take this case and this machine with me. so that I fall asleep properly and, you know, breathe through it. So there's that element. There's also the sex life element. I've not been with anyone since being diagnosed, but I have the anxiety that, oh gosh, I'm going to put someone off because I'll have a partner or a girlfriend or a boyfriend in the future, and I'll put them off because every night I have to stick on this breathing apparatus. And that's a feeling. And I want to kind of capture that in this next verse. So wish me luck. I think I've got a thing for the second verse, obviously subject to change, but something like, as I adjust to life in disbelief, another problem on the back of me, this tube and a machine to help me breathe, there's a crutch I must use permanently. He's just sort of like trying to convey that adjustment, that change, that how it's impacted me. And it's a sad song, and it's a sad verse because there are lots of sad feelings involved about, you know, finding out you've got a condition. And yes, there are positive ways of looking at it as well, you know, sort of, well, things are getting better, as I've alluded to in other lines in the song, things are going to get better. And I mentioned in the post when I mentioned my diagnosis, like, now that I'm not tired all the time, think of all this stuff I can do, considering how much I was working when I was just knackered permanently. So there are positive outlooks, but it's nice to just kind of capture that slow feeling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use a stopwatch, have a brief playthrough of my verse, chorus, half-length verse, second chorus, see where the time stops on there. I think the direction is going to go either we'll have some sort of instrumental solo thing after second chorus and then third chorus end, or if I'm feeling particularly froggy, add an extra half to the second verse. I don't think that's as likely. I don't think a middle eight is as likely either. So I'm going to try that. Just see how much time I've got, because I don't want to have just like a 2-minute song. Ideally, I'd like it to be a bit more, but we'll see. So that's my next stop. So I've just had a little playthrough, just with stopwatch. We're going up to second chorus. You go to about like 2 minutes 5, 2 minutes 10. So I can add like an instrumental verse section thing where I'll do some fancy shit, and then go into last chorus, have that sort of like a drop chorus, lower in arrangement, and yeah, that takes me to about 3 minutes, and I'm happy. I think I've written the song, and hopefully this has been interesting for you to kind of see the process and what sort of things I was trying to do there, and yeah, enjoy a full song. The sunlight climbs out of its cozy bed. My eyelids scale a cliff an ocean wide. I spend my working hours craving rest. With every waking moment feels so tired. A lover's voice disturbs me in the night. As I drift off, she took my breath away. This tunnel's end brings with it the light to see me through the warming glow of day. The wings attach upon my feet, just a sad elephant off to sleep. This cold wind blows as the feathers beat, just a sad elephant off to sleep. As I adjust to life in disbelief, another problem on the back of me, this tube and a machine to help me breathe, a crutch I need to use permanently. The wings attach upon my feet, just a sad elephant off to sleep. This cold wind blows as the feathers beat, just a sad elephant off to sleep. Attached upon my feet, just a sad elephant off to sleep. This cold wind blows as the feathers beat, just a sad elephant off to sleep. Just a sad elephant off to sleep. Just a sad elephant off to sleep.